chapter of APCO hosting this. What a great event, and for you guys to put this together. So it's a lot of work. And John, I'd like to thank you personally for all the work you've put into getting us involved and keeping us, keeping everything on track. So thank you for that. Tremendous amount of work. So just a little bit about myself, Scott Andrews, with AT&T FirstNet on the Mission Critical Solutions team. I know many of you know me. I've been around the Northern California chapter of APCO about the last 15 years, been in public safety about 25 years. I joined FirstNet about 3 years ago, really for that opt-in conversation within the state of California and to really be an advocate for public safety. I think that's what most of us, at this conference really are all about, is advocating for public safety in various roles. So having the opportunity to actually go to work for AT&T, I thought I could make a bigger difference inside the organization. So really that's the mission here, and that's the goal. So I appreciate you guys taking the time and spending a little bit of that with us today. Like the slide said, being first really does matter. Mission trusted, mission ready, mission driven. There is only one nationwide public safety broadband network, and that's FirstNet as the contractor of the federal government. Again, as this slide speaks to it, it is really for public safety by public safety. What else is there to be said right there? Again, mission trusted, mission ready, mission driven. One of the things here, again, public safety network versus public safety features. Again, as the contractor of the federal government, AT&T has been allocated the band 14 spectrum to utilize for FirstNet. Harlan's going to speak about high-powered user equipment, and not to steal his thunder, but band 14 is something that allows that to happen, and he'll go into that. But again, that's exclusive to FirstNet. It's exclusive to this contract and exclusive to public safety. Again, that's not a feature. It's not a virtualized service. It's built into the network, and it really is a different feature set than a commercial carrier offering with features. Something else that's separate as per contract in the federal government is a separate physical core. If you were in Steve Devine's presentation earlier, he referenced it as a brick and mortar core. It's a physical hardware core, not virtualized, and there is a difference. I think we all understand that between virtual hardware versus physical hardware. Geo redundancy with physical equipment does matter. Built-in priority and preemption. Again, it's not something that's added. It's not something that has to be, star 82 to achieve. It's built in on every single call, every single day with no data throttling. So again, that's one of the main differences between features and what a network is. Again, commercial networks do not have band 14. They talk about other spectrum being very similar. It's really not. Again, band 14 is in a 700 meg range. Propagation is very good. Again, there are other bands in 700, but again, not that are allowed to use high powered and not set aside specifically for public safety. So again, it really is different. Again, it's being built to fit the specific needs of first responders. The FirstNet Authority, tomorrow they're doing a couple presentations. Kevin Nida, you guys are very familiar with him. That he was part of a team that did, thousands of outreach meetings across the country for years to really collect those data points. That's ultimately what was in the contract, and that's ultimately what AT&T is adhered to. So again, it's really specific to the unique needs of public safety. So the group that I'm part of, again, I know Harlan's going to talk about HPUE, the high-powered user equipment, but mission critical services, really, again, more than a tagline, more than just, a buzzword. Really, as we look at mission critical services, we're talking about FirstNet push to talk. Again, there are a lot of push to talk applications over LTE and a lot of very good ones. However, FirstNet push to talk was the first mission critical push to talk standards-based application available. It was available back in March of this year. There's another one that has been released since then, I think in the last few weeks, but understand the difference. Again, when we start talking about applications built to standards, it's very comparable to P25 radios being built to APCO Project 25 standards. Value added is value added, but that just means different, right? It can also mean proprietary. We've all dealt with that in LMR for years. Radio A can't talk to Radio B, even though theoretically they're built to standards. So as we go forward with this, again, as we look at these mission critical standards, and again, those mission critical standards are defined by the third generation partnership program or project, which is 3GPP, Worldwide Standards Body, comparable to kind of APCO, but in the cellular industry. So again, we really want to get away from proprietary. We want to get to standards-based infrastructure and solutions. And again, that's what FirstNet Push to Talk, and you're going to see a lot more of that really coming to light this next year. Z-axis location-based services. Obviously, X and Y is important to get address location, but in high-rise buildings and such, we got to know that altitude as well. So that's what Z-axis is giving us, and we're right on the precipice of that being released. It'll be released in 21, but it may be even sooner. There's a lot of stuff that's going on. It's really exciting right this minute. Broadcast technology, again, that is coming in 2021. Mission critical text, data, and video. There's a feature set called Inner Working Feature, which ultimately ties a lot of these solutions together back in a standards-based platform, which ultimately delivers a standards-based experience to the first responder, bringing the data and the information one needs back to one place in a format that's, again, standards-based and not proprietary. And again, Harlan will talk more on HPUE as we get to that part. Network-based technology, the coverage response operations group. The response operations group, that's our folks that respond to issues. I have a few numbers in front of me here that I can read. It's really been exciting. In 2019, we responded to 504 planned events and unplanned events and emergencies. That was a 5-fold increase of over 90 requests in 2018. So from 2018, we had 90 requests for our deployable assets to 504 in 2019. Obviously, with COVID this year, those numbers are probably going to double or triple again. So we're really seeing that's a driving force to what's going on. Device-based technology, FirstNet Push to Talk. It's again over 150 FirstNet ready devices. We're really seeing an ecosystem that's becoming very robust. We're only 4 years in, and not even 4 years in, really 3 years, and it's really just it's been a very steep curve. Foundational technology between security, app developer program, ICAM, the identity credential access management. Think of that as single sign-on to your device. That way you're not logging into a bunch of different applications, and it's a way to authenticate users for agencies and applications and devices. Let's see, there we go. Oops, sorry, my PowerPoint didn't work like I needed to. Eligibility, FirstNet enables almost all industries to support critical infrastructure. Again, do you run towards an emergency? Do you support people who do? Do you support disaster response? This top quote was from a water company. Again, it's not just for firemen and police officers, but we support utilities and the critical infrastructure because everyone works together in an incident. Everyone has to pull on the rope in the same direction, as it were. So sometimes that dump truck or the garbage truck is the most important vehicle on scene if you need to clear debris. So with that, there's assets to make sure that works the way it needs to. And again, coverage is obviously a huge issue and working through that. Again, 25-year commitment as per the federal contract to deliver mission critical tools, technologies you need to get the job done. These advanced services we've talked about, growing coverage, advanced network technology, enhanced event response technology. Again, I think in Steve Devine's earlier presentation, he referenced 140 billion with a B dollar investment over the last, I think it's 5 years in the nationwide network. So it's an incredible investment. It's an incredible amount of work, but great things are coming. And with that, that's just kind of the quick high level, trying to make sure I leave most of the time for Harlan, but if there's any questions about what I just went over, but other than that, I can turn it over to Chief. And again, like John said, I don't know, Harlan, if you needed an introduction, but we appreciate you coming here today to talk about some high-powered user equipment and go from there. I will stop sharing right there. Let's see, there we go.
Okay, very good. Thank you, everybody. Let me get my slides up here. Hopefully you can see my slides. Well, I know many people, I looked through the list of people, quite a few that I don't know, but there are a few out in California that I do, and I appreciate the time to talk with you. I'm really, FirstNet, AT&T asked me to speak today because this morning I did a similar presentation to the New York statewide public safety community about high-powered user equipment. and they had seen my planned presentation and wanted to know if I would share it with the EPCO California people today. So that's why I'm here. Like I said, this is my introduction. I've been around a while. I'm getting old. As I said, I know many of you. I have been an advocate for this FirstNet single nationwide public safety broadband network way long before the law was passed enabling it. And many of us who have been involved in public safety communications for a number of years realize that even though we had tried for many, many years to achieve nationwide interoperability in the land mobile arena, that we were never ever going to quite achieve the interoperability level that we wanted to achieve. With the advent of broadband, we saw that as an opportunity to advocate for a single nationwide network instead of having thousands of public safety licensees, having a single license and having a single nationwide network that would be able to develop and provide a totally interoperable system to public safety in this country nationwide. And so that's what we have now. Scott mentioned that this network has been built for public safety, by public safety. As you know, I've chaired the Public Safety Advisory Committee, the first chair of that committee, until I finally decided I should slow down a bit and step down. But that committee, under the law, is the FirstNet Authority Board has to, under the law, take advice and recommendations from the Public Safety Advisory Committee. So in that regard, that's how this whole thing being built by AT&T came about. So a lot of people say, well, you know, this is just another AT&T network. Well, I beg to differ with those that say that. This is really our public safety network being built for us by AT&T under the advice of the advisory committee and the FirstNet board of directors. So having said that, I got involved in this high-powered user equipment, and I had to figure out how to, there. So some of you may know about what HPUE means, but high power user equipment is a term, a legal term that involves the use of more powerful equipment in the FirstNet network. So I'll kind of go through a few slides here to kind of give you a sense of what it's all about. So first of all, in a quick summary, Power Class 1 high power user equipment is exclusive to Band 14 in the United States. That's authorized under the FCC rules that allowed for a higher power equipment in that band, and that's the only band it's allowed in. So this is exclusive to the FirstNet Band 14 space. The 3GPP industry also allows this maximum power up to 1.25 watts. And although I'm not an engineer, some of you understand that what that means when I say it's a 31 dBm signal. HPUE PC1 transmits 1 watt higher than regular PC3 devices. So for mid to far range, 62% to 100% improvement, and for mid to near, a 10 to 20% reduction. So this is very important. The device you see in the bottom middle of the screen is the only device so far that has been announced that will be available in the near future, being manufactured by a company called Assured Wireless. They're located actually in California. The shows the circuit board on the left. On the right is a newly announced, not yet available, new antenna being developed by a company called AirGain. And that antenna, in combination with the Assured Wireless, is even a better improvement to the signal that you will get by using HPUE devices. And the reason is that the AirGain antenna is designed to have the HPUE device connected right into the antenna, and there's no loss in power in the cables between the router and the antenna. So that makes that we don't know yet what the improvement will be, but they're claiming it will be an additional improvement. So the benefits of HPUE are that it gives you a significant uplink speed improvements at the edge of the network. So in my county, and this is, I was making a presentation this morning because I've been involved in a beta test of HPUE equipment here in my county and in my city in Ithaca, New York, Tompkins County, New York. And it's a typical upstate New York State rural, hilly terrain area. I say hilly because those of you that are in what I call mountainous areas with huge mountains, we don't want to claim that we have huge mountains. I mean, we're talking about hills that go up to maybe 2,000 to 3,000 feet. So the purpose of the HPUE is to give uplink speed improvements at the edge of the network. So in my county right now, we have, which is, like I said, mainly a rural county, with the only major city is Ithaca, a small city in the middle of the county. It is showing a significant improvement, which I'll talk about in a minute. It allows for more powerful devices, 1.2 watts versus 0.2 watts, and it makes existing cellular coverage more usable for public safety. I'll explain that a little bit, but if you're in an fringe area and you're getting out to the edge of the network, this is a game changer, and it's only available on the FirstNet Band 14 network. The user experience is that it gives you a reliable connection with fewer dropped calls. It's a better rural throughput network edge experience, as I've said. And although we weren't testing it for in-building coverage, it claims, and I'm sure it will, give you a better in-building, it penetrates buildings better and gives you a better in-building experience. AT&T has said that they will refine these devices, and as they do, there will be more improvements occurring as that progresses. Some of the FirstNet HPUE cases are typically for wildland fires, which you're experiencing, unfortunately, in California. The EMS application, which is the beta test that we did here in Tompkins County in Ithaca, New York, are significant for transmitting medical information back to a trauma center, hospital, and that's the test that we're doing, or we're just about to finish, and I'll talk about in a minute. Telemedicine, search and rescue, and many others for law enforcement and fire. It'll be a game changer in my view, and the only significant difference as it relates to coverage other than the actual cell sites themselves. So just to kind of close this down, I want to explain to you a little bit about how this is different. So in Power Class 3 existing user equipment in devices, it gives you a 23 dBm experience. Right now, that would be AT&T. That would be the normal FirstNet signal, and it would be Verizon and T-Mobile. It would that is what you normally would experience. With Power Class 2, which T-Mobile has claimed extends their coverage by up to 30%, that gives you a bit of an increase of 26 dBm. That's on band 41, that's 2.5 gigahertz only. And then we talk about the HPUE Power Class 1 devices, gives you 31 dBm in band 14. And like I said, that's limited only to FirstNet band 14 public safety users. So I think you can see the significant improvement in better signal. This is an example of one of the recent experiences with the Coast Guard with a sea test with the Assured Wireless device, or HPUE device, offshore. The scenario was a dive accident, search and rescue. The area was the Channel Islands. They achieved 5 megabits per second, 20 miles off the coast, which is pretty good. And that was their objective. What the HPUE results showed was that they actually got 15 megabits per second at 25 miles and 14.7 megabits per second, 28 miles off the coast. That's a significant increase in coverage, and shows you some of the benefits. You can see some of the comparisons over there in the chart at the right between band 14, band 2, band 12, and B30, and it's pretty significant. 16.24 uplink average, as opposed to 2.5 on band 2, 3.694 on band 12, and 3.306 on band 30. So it's really a significant increase and improvement. The AT&T team has put together a beta partner testing around the country. I didn't look to see if there was any here in California. There may be, somebody will see one probably. But the reason I got involved is because I saw it as a significant game changer. And Bang's ambulance service in Ithaca is the ambulance service that serves my city and area. They've become more and more involved in rural coverage because of the fact that our volunteer fire services are losing volunteers, and they're often not available with their rural ambulance services. So Bang's, which is a commercial service, has been called upon to do more and more mutual aid calls out into the more rural areas of the county. And one of the things that I saw would be a benefit was making sure they had the maximum coverage they could get from FirstNet. They switched over from Verizon to FirstNet more than a year ago because of the fact that they were having trouble getting through to the hospitals when they had major events in the county. What was happening is that, as usually happens with a commercial network, they weren't able to get through on the normal commercial network when they needed to. When they switched to FirstNet, they immediately always got through, and that was their main intention. When I explained to them that there was this additional HPUE option, they were anxious to be a beta tester. And unfortunately, the IT manager for Bang's Ambulance wasn't able to be with us this afternoon. this morning he did a great presentation after I made this kind of introductory to the New York State people on a webinar, and explained, for instance, they often do transports. It's about 40 miles south of Ithaca, just across the Pennsylvania line to the Robert Packer Hospital Guthrie Clinic. And when they do that, they're going into 2 other counties, and they often were losing coverage. So with FirstNet alone, using either band 14 or the other frequencies that are available from AT&T to FirstNet users, they were getting about 48 miles of coverage on an 80-mile round trip service. So they were getting about 48 miles of coverage of connectivity. When they installed the HPUE equipment, that increased to 72 miles out of 80, which is a huge improvement for them to be connected to the hospitals when they're traveling with these transports. Earlier, in the middle of last week, they spent a whole day with one of their ambulances with the HPUE device. They traveled, they spent 8 hours on the road traveling all over our county into areas where they knew before they were having spotty coverage. And I wished he was on so that you could see his coverage maps, but it was significant. He was showing where in several areas where they would get no coverage before, there was almost total coverage. I mean, with maybe a couple of breaks in coverage. It was very significant. So, you know, the benefit of this to those people that are operating in more rural areas, I think is a game changer, like I said, and a big benefit. I saw in an article recently in Urgent Communications by Donnie Jackson, where he was interviewing the Assured Wireless people, that they're saying that the suggested retail price for these devices is going to be around $700. They unfortunately, everything isn't in place for them to begin manufacturing these devices till right after the first of the year. But what we were hoping to do is get people interested in it and see what kind of benefits it brings to people when they're using this kind of a device. So let me just see how I can. All right, can you see me? Okay, Scott and I are on the call, and we will, you know, be glad to answer any questions you might have, either about what Scott discussed or what I discussed with you earlier.